Welcome to the Humboldt Axe YouTube channel. I'm Doc, and this time I'm going to show you what I make my wraps out of and how I make them the color. I've gotten quite a few questions on how I'm doing that, so I'm going to share that with you all. So if you're interested in wrapping your axe and want to know what I use and how I get them that color, stick around. So if you haven't already, please subscribe down below. We greatly appreciate all the support. And with that, stay tuned, hang with me, and let's get to it. Hope everyone's doing well. Going to show you what I make my wraps out of. And how I color them. It's pretty straightforward, actually. No real secrets, but I've gotten quite a few questions, so I want to answer them, share what I know anyways. That's kind of the point behind the channel and all that. So at least I'll show you what I do and what I use and how I get them the color. I just basically use, it's a water-based dye, a wood dye. Oops. And when I dye my handles, I usually dye the wraps as well. So what I use, twine. Let me get set up real quick so I can get set up real quick. So this is what I use. It's just 1/4 inch natural twine from the hardware stores where I get it. I've used 1/2 inch before, and you can use it. I can't get it to wrap as well, and I glue them onto my handles. If you watch some of my previous videos, I just think this works great. It's pretty inexpensive, and it's quite durable actually as well. Let me see. Yeah. Show you some of the wraps I've done. See that? Here we go. These are, I normally do red, and red's what I'm going to do today. Yep, it needs to go up a little bit. I need to work on my camera skills. But I normally just stick with red. They go really nice on the green handles. This is kind of a purpley Merlot. I did kind of a, this one's cool, man. I did it in blue and then I went over it with purple. So I don't know, I've just kind of experimented. Here's another purple one. I also got emerald green wraps as well, but it's all made out of this, and then I dye them. So no real secrets behind that. I've got to make several. I've got quite a few projects I'm working on, and I got to get my red ones done, so I figured I'll show you exactly what I do. Again, this is pretty straightforward. I cut them to 10-foot lengths, and for the most part I always have extra, especially when I do a 28-inch handle. I wind up with, 2 feet probably, but I just don't want to come up short when I do this. And the main reason for a strike guard, I mean, they're fully functional. That's why I started doing this, but let's be honest, they look cool. All right, I'm going to cut the rest of these, and I'll show you the dye that I use, and I'll dip them and all that, because I already created a rat's nest. All right, I think that'll be a good spot. Get these. Man, they flip out of the little jug and make a mess. That's how I ruin my clothes. Whatever. Good enough, huh? All right. All right. I got about that much in there. I try to string them up so I can uncoil them like a snake, to try to avoid splashing everywhere, but it never works. Whatever. I also got a couple questions about the blue U shirt. That's what it is. It's a blue with a U around it. I'm a lifelong skateboarder. I love skateboarding. I was like a lot of kids growing up in the 80s, man. I caught that fad. But later on, years back, and we lived in Oakdale, I built a half pipe in my backyard. I built one as a kid. I was like in the 7th or 8th grade. And let's just say I got my lumber from the Midnight Lumber Yard. Not all of it, but most of it. And but I never finished it. I couldn't afford to, me and my skate homies couldn't afford the plywood to finish it off. So anyway, later on, we lived in Oakdale years back, and I built that ramp, that same exact ramp, almost in my backyard. It was much bigger, but it was an 80s style death trap. It was an 8-foot transition with a little, about 1.5 feet of vert. But anyway, I built it in my backyard, and I painted it like a pewter gray. And one of my friends that used to come skate, he saw a picture of it and he called it the Blue U. So I thought, hey man, that'd be a cool. So I made a little logo for my ramp. That's where it came from. The Blue U, which was my my ramp in my backyard. Here we go. But the cool thing about it, when I was growing up, I wasn't so much into sports, but the professional skateboarders. And lo and behold, I had some of the pros that I grew up with idolized, and they were on all the mags, Thrasher Mag and Trans World. One of my friends that I worked with when I worked for the city, his name was Brian, and he called me and goes, hey man, you mind if I bring my friend over and we skate your ramp? I'm like, of course, man. I'd never put it together, but it was Brian Ferdinand. He rode for Alva and Pool House and Indy and Spitfire. And he was such a nice guy. He never talked about it. He's so humble. And he shows up, and his name was Peter. I'm like, oh, hey, Peter. It was Peter Gifford, Kiwi. He was a big pro in the late 70s before skateboarding kind of took a dump. And Peter's such a nice guy, man. But you would never know. And, man, that was cool. And then Ryan Carpenter. I just had these pros that I idolized, you know what I mean? And they're such good dudes, and we became friends. And then Wade Speyer. Wade Speyer came to my house a couple of times. He lived out in Farmington. And Wade's, you know, Google his name up. Wade Speyer. He came up with, well, right after Tony Hawk and the Bones Brigade and them, he came up with Bucky Lassick and Danny Way and all them. And Wade was such a nice guy. And it's just weird to be that late in life and have these dudes that I idolized come to my yard, man. Anyway. I can't skate anymore, really. Not like that. But let's be honest, even at my peak, I was average at best. Average at best. But I loved it, man. And to skate with those guys, they were so cool, they didn't care. I usually wound up being the camera guy because, I don't know, it was a trip to meet them and have them in my backyard, skate my ramps, and then, you know, become friends with them. It's really cool. Pete Gifford's in the Skateboarding Hall of Fame, and a few years back he was going to go and he was going to take me, and I thought, gosh dang it, he was going to take Brian and I, and but he was inducted a couple of years ago, so good for him, man. Such a good dude. Anyway, I loved skateboarding. I loved it. And a lot of, especially back then, I didn't have a whole lot, but my skateboard was so personal, you know what I mean? They're just so personal. You can't just jump on somebody else's board and ride. They're just set up to the individual. And to be honest, when I started making these axes, that's kind of how I do it. I mean, I make them personal for the people. So anyway, that's my story. I always wanted to be a professional skateboarder, but you know, like everything else, there's levels to those games, and I wasn't anywhere near it. But I loved it. So this is what You know what I mean? I mean, it's nasty. I'm getting it splashed on me, but I just hang them up there and let them dry, especially when it's sunny and breezy like this. They'll be dried probably by tomorrow. And then I just like to get them all ready, and so I don't have to worry about it, you know. So I'm running out. I have a few other colors, but mainly the wraps I do are red. Because they look cool, you know what I mean? All right, well, I'm going to finish these up. And I'm getting zapped by mosquitoes. It's that time of year. They come out late in the day, especially when it's sunny. But I'll finish these up and I'll show you the final product here. All right. Well, and as much as I try, whatever. This stuff's nasty and it's hard to get out. It looks like I'm gonna have enough for one more. And then I gotta order more dye. But this twine soaks it right up too. And it does a good job coloring it. Because I've replaced mine several times, or my main split axe. Because I tried, as much as I try to keep the handle out of the wood, you know, I ain't no pro. But it dyes the fibers all the way through there. So even when I go to replace them and I unwrap my axes with them, they're red or green. I got a green one on there now. But it works real well. Oh, I'm splashing it on my cement. Whatever. All right. That's the stuff. Look at that, huh? Make sure they're... I don't want to go walking into them like a bead curtain. Remember from the 70s? The only reason I say that is because I strung them up here one time, a bunch of different colors, and I wasn't paying attention, and I was in a hurry, and I walked right through them, and I had lines on me. Whatever. Okay. That's the stuff. I may have put some, that Merlot. I get water-based dye. I've got some more on order, but I may have put some of that Merlot. It's like a deep, like a Merlot wine. It's kind of deep purple like that. Anyway, I don't know if everybody's interested in my colors here, but I said I was going to mark my container, but to make sure I could tell the color, but you know, mark itself. That's it. Zapped by mosquitoes. So that's the colors. It's kind of bright because of the glare in the background. Maybe there you go. Maybe that's a little better. That's it. So I'll let those dry for like I don't know. I'll probably leave them out here for a couple days, to be honest. Oh, it's got a smudge on my screen. Sorry about that. Better? I'm not sure if that is. Anyway, I'll let them sit here. They're good in a day, usually. It's humid here in Humboldt. I mean, I'm gotten used to it. But I don't know, 2 days. I'll leave them there because I'm not going anywhere. And the other question I got was because of the Humboldt Fallen videos that I posted, man, those were cool, huh? It's a shame to have had to take those big redwoods down. I really didn't want to have to. And I tried to, Michael and I talked through it, and they were so sick, especially this one right over here. Those two with the big seams. It had a big old crack, and that hole, it had seam growth in it. And actually, that's what this is from. So those trees were kept splitting themselves apart, and the one that was leaving by our house, it didn't have a whole lot of wood, and that thing was big. Anyway, just way too dangerous. It's a shame. I wish I didn't have to take them. But, you know, safety in my home and my family comes number one, so it's just the way it is. But I got a question about if I have any old growth left on my property. The answer is no, but I've got a bunch of old growth stumps, and one in particular is about maybe 30-40 feet tall with a big burl at the top. It's cool. It's like a chimney tree. It got burnt out, so let's go take a walk. We'll go check it out. I'll show it to you. Man, it is cool. I live in the forest, man. No landscaping required. Let me get sprayed with mosquito spray. They're zapping me. And let's take a walk out there. Man, those are going to come out. Sweet. Love it. It's easy, you know. I get asked questions. Now I'm doing something. I'm happy to share it. But our property is, well, it goes all the way down the hill here. And I've got several large, I've got a bunch of large, or second growth redwoods, especially our property that goes all back in here. They came through here and logged this area twice, except our property wasn't. So we've got some pretty large redwoods still, multiple. I mean, they're all over, actually. I mean, this is all our property back here, all the way through there. You can see the daylight. Our neighbor's property's down there, and we've got these pretty sizable. There's that tree over there. Oh, look, that's an old growth stump. Let's go walk over to it. But I still didn't want to have to take them down. It just breaks my heart. But I'd rather have my heart broken than, you know, hear a crack and that's all she wrote. You know what I'm saying? There's his ball. Threw our dog's ball up here and we lost it. Anyway, we'll be wanting that one. And then I just lost it in the branches. Whatever. All right, let's walk around to it. Man, I love living here. I love it. These redwoods, they grow kind of like weeds. So if you cut one down, a bunch will come up right around the system, where the stump is. There's a good example of one right there. That's a bunch of trees right there. There's a stump right on the other side. Kind of call them like a cathedral tree, but that's what happens. And so they regenerate. And redwoods, they don't have a deep root system. Their roots are more towards the surface because they get water out of the air. And wow. But this one right here, let's walk up to it. This is an old growth stump, and it's a tremendously old one. And it must have got struck by lightning because it's all charred out. That is cool. Look at that thing. Huh? I mean, if I had to guess how wide it is at the stump, I mean, from here to here, should have brought my tape measure. I'm gonna go get it. And then I'll hug up on it and show you how big it is. Look at that thing. That is, and there's a big old burl right at the top of it. That's an ancient burl right there. Imagine making some furniture out of that. Okay, I'm gonna go get my tape measure real quick because I'm actually curious. Look at this game trail. Deers and bears. I haven't seen any this year, but we got them for sure. Let's see. First of all, you know what I'm saying? And I'm 6'9". Minus a foot. Let's see here. $15 feet. 15 and a half. 15 foot. Yeah. So that stump at the widest part is 15 and a half feet wide. It ain't no small little stump. And if we go over here around the back side, you can get inside of it. Look at this. It's coming off. It came off from up there. The wicked windstorms that ripped through California, we were not spared. And we live right up on the ridge, and so it's fallen in on itself, unfortunately. But I mean, you can see you can get right inside this thing. Look at this. I mean, I don't know if you got any cool trees on your property, but we do. You know what I'm saying? Look at that thing. That's why I'm living in Humboldt, and I love living here in particular. Here we go. Maybe that works. Man, I feel like a dork. It's okay. Straight up, huh? Look at this. Cool, man. So, that's a cool tree on our property. I love it. So anyway, the short answer is no. We don't have any old growth left. But we have old growth stumps, and that one is by far the coolest. I would guess that's, if I had to get, look, it's pretty precarious. Right there, it's gonna wind up. I don't know how many more winters it's gonna last. If we have more winds like we did last year, that thing's gonna come down. Look at that though. I'd guess that's 40, 50 feet tall, if I had to guess. So, cool, man. We don't got to go very far to get lost in the redwoods. I just walk right out in my backyard. You know what I'm saying? I love it. All right. Well, thank you so much for watching. My family and I greatly appreciate it. If you could please remember to subscribe down below if you haven't already. Everybody's welcome here at the Humboldt Axe community, and it's totally free, so you can't beat that. I appreciate it, and just remember, celebrate others, respect yourself, because love is powerful, man. I'll see you on the next one.